Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Louisa Munson, aka Mrs. M here. Welcome to my first moving story. Now, I don't know where you are in your moving process or even if you're moving at all, but these recordings are here to give you an insider's view of what it's like to just move away from your country of origin. Over the next few months, I'll be slowly releasing all of my chats with these amazing people to give you the highs and the lows of what it may mean to pack up your life and just move it somewhere else. Now, as you may know, me and Mr. M emigrated from the UK to Portugal 5 years ago with our 2 small children. We've now got 3 small kids, and we gave birth in our new country, so we've definitely got some skin in this game. But the fascinating thing for me is that everyone's motives and reasons for moving are really quite unique and interesting. And I'm really so lucky because I get to speak to so many people who've been through this exact process. Since moving abroad, both Carl and I help people get really clear about where they want to be. And in my own business as a coach and astrologer, I help create a safe space for people to explore their next move. So if you're serious about moving to another country and want our help, just go to theportugalclub.com and we can set up an appointment. Anyway, I digress. I've often found that people who emigrate are pretty special, They're really cool, they're a bit on the quirky side and have an amazing point of view. And I absolutely drink these up. I love hanging out with people who inspire something much greater out of me or who help me tell my own story back to me. It's really useful to get it retold. And I'm absolutely delighted to bring you a moving story today where my lovely guest, Louise, from Solo 50 Plus Adventures, she talks to me through some of her thoughts about her migration journey. I'm going to warn you, there's a bit of swearing and I will do my best to bleep it out. But you know what? This conversation is so real and absolutely honest. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. So before I bring Louise on, you might already know her from her channel Solo 50 Plus Adventures. She's absolutely worth subscribing to as her videos are very, very real and have got loads of brilliant information about life in Portugal. She started it in December 2020, which was just after we met Louise up close and personal in a shopping centre in central Portugal in Coimbra. So let's go listen to her story now. I know we met you. First met you in Coimbra, didn't I? When you came out. God, what year was that? Was that 2 years ago now?
Yep.
Wow, that has gone.
This is my third winter. This is my third winter in Portugal because obviously I arrived in November.
Yeah.
October, but got my residency in November. So yeah, I know it's my third winter.
Well, that's gone fast, isn't it?
I know.
We first met in Coimbra and had a wander around, and of course that's in the height of the old pandemic, where we went to a park and were turned away from the park by a police officer. I remember, much to my disgruntlement. And I just wanted to kind of take you back to that time and find out, like, when was it that you first decided you wanted to move to Portugal? I mean, did you always want to move to Portugal? Or is it you just wanted to get out of the UK? Like,
no, none of those things. It's a bit of a long story, but you have something to do with it, or you and Carl, or Good Morning Portugal. But so one thing is, I sort of hear a lot of people saying or comments on videos is you don't necessarily have to be running away from something.
Yeah.
And as well, I remember someone put under one of my videos, it's good that you can come to Portugal to make go to Portugal, because he wasn't in Portugal, go to Portugal to make a better life for yourself. No, nothing, it's not better.
Yeah.
In fact, in a lot of ways it's worse.
Yeah.
But it's just different.
Yes.
So you're not necessarily running away from anything. You're not necessarily trying to make things better. It's just different.
Yes. That's a great way of saying it.
That kind of answers the question as to why I want to. So, born and bred in London, lived all my life in London. And when I was about 45, sort of coming up to 50, you kind of like think, you don't have, just because you were born here, you don't have to die here. I'm not a city person. I am a real outdoor person. And I was at the time I was going backwards and I've been going backwards and forwards to Wales since my kids were little, going up to the Lake District, driving up to Scotland. I mean, I've driven everywhere around the UK, and it was always to outdoor, rural, national parks. And anyway, so I thought, I don't need to live in London. You've got to make it. If you want to make a change of your life, you've got to do it now before you're too old. So I moved to Wales. My mum got terminally ill, so I had to move back to London. After she died, I thought, I can go back to Wales now. But then I thought, well, I don't actually have to go back to Wales. I could go anywhere in the UK. And so this is when I first started house sitting, because I thought, but where? I thought, where shall I go? And I thought, I'll do house sitting to try different places around the UK. But then my first house sit was in Australia. I know. The furthest nice. Of the planet. I know. This is how things happen. But then, because I started meeting other house sitters, who many of them were digital nomads and just location independent completely, I thought, well, actually, I don't have to live in the UK. I could live anywhere in the world. And this is when I started asking around and thinking, where should I live? But Portugal just kept coming up in really weird ways, like just weird ways. Portugal kept coming up, and I've been all over Europe, the Greek islands, all Spain, all over, driven around Europe. But Portugal was one place I've never been. So I booked some house sits in Portugal to spend a winter there. So that must have been the winter of 2019. So that's when this world crisis hit, and all the house sits got cancelled. Obviously, everything just stopped. The world just stopped. Yeah. So I was listening to a certain show on YouTube every morning, and they had. So Good Morning Portugal had said they was going to do a webinar on moving to Portugal before Brexit. Yeah. Getting your residency before Brexit. And I thought, that doesn't apply to me, but I found myself on the webinar anyway. Yeah. And then I thought, oh God, it's so easy to do it now, i.e. before Brexit or the Brexit extension thing. And it's just going to be so much more complicated after. I thought, if I don't like Portugal and don't want to stay, I don't have to. So I just packed bag, booked a one-way ticket and came. And
yes, that's what I like. I love stories about people with courage and heart, like they're just like, right, I'm out there.
Yeah.
Wow. So from the moment you made that decision, how quickly were you out in Portugal?
It was almost immediate, because obviously, when was the webinar? Well, obviously the webinar was maybe 3 months before, because the deadline was looming. Yeah. So it was almost immediate, because I went online and I looked at getting a NIF and getting people were talking. Obviously, it was the height of the crisis, so you couldn't make appointments to get your residency. So I had to do it quick, because I heard that people were saying, it takes a month, maybe 6 weeks to get an appointment. So it was almost immediate.
Wow, excellent. And what did the people around you say when you said, okay, I'm off? By the way, I'm off. Are they all just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what she does? Or
you know what? Yeah, exactly. Do you know what? I was thinking, because I've done a few odd things in my life. When I something completely different, but I was that was at the age of 45, trained to be an electrician to get my qualifications so I could rewire my own house. This electrician that I was working with, he said, because he sort of got to know me because he was working together. And he said, what did your daughter say when you said you was going to go back to school and learn to be an electrician? I said, they didn't bat an eyelid. They didn't bat an eyelid. It was just me, Yeah, they're just used to that sort of thing.
Fantastic. So let's go back to your arrival in Portugal. What was your first thought about arriving in Portugal?
Well, the thing is, it wasn't straightforward, because I'd done my research about Portugal, and I thought, obviously I'd never been, but I had decided that I definitely want to live in Central. Mm-hmm. So obviously I booked a flight to Porto, but because of the travel restrictions, because things sort of opened up, then shut down again. But I'd already decided I was coming. So my flight got cancelled. Then I booked one to Lisbon, then that got cancelled. Then so there's nothing. It's just nothing at all. And then, honestly, you guys have so much to do with my journey. Again, I was listening to Good Morning Portugal because that was my thing every morning, just to keep the Portugal dream alive. You know, it really does do what it says on the tin, the show. And then on one morning, I think at that time, Carl was sort of reading out the numbers every day, you know, and there wasn't many cases in the Algarve. They had very few cases, and I think they had slightly less lockdown restrictions. So I thought, well, I wonder if there's flights to Faro. So I looked, and there was. So I got a flight to Faro, and then obviously I had to find my way up. But that was it. I just wanted to get there, so I just booked a flight. I think I booked an Airbnb for 2 nights in Faro, and then booked a train, and then got on a train up to central Portugal. There was like 3 people on the plane. You know, the airport was, it was bizarre. It really is. Yeah. Really was. Sorry, what was the question? So,
what was your first instinct or experience?
When I was on the bus, so obviously I got off the plane, got on a bus to my Airbnb, and I was just sitting on the bus, and I just thought, yeah, I'm staying here. I'm definitely staying here. You know, I just thought, I don't know. I don't know. You know, even though I was in the Algarve and that was somewhere I knew I'd never want to live, but I just immediately thought, yeah, I'm staying here.
Yeah. So what was your next step then? So you kind of meandered up the central.
Came up to Coimbra to another Airbnb. And then this is where I was stuck. And I thought, to get the residency, I obviously needed a place to live, and I thought, and rentals, you sign up for a year. I thought, listen, I've just dropped in this place. I'm not signing a rental agreement for a whole year. I don't know where I want to live. That's when I booked in to see Carl. And I tell you what, I'm forever telling people, it was such a lifesaver. I don't know what I would have done without it, to be honest. And I'm not saying that just because I'm on your call, and I'm always because he introduced me to my landlady who was renting a room, and I thought, that's perfect. That's all I need is a room. And because she's Portuguese, she could then act as the whatever, you know, person that verifies I'm living with, you know, living where I was living. But not only that, she is such a dear friend now. She's a friend for life. She's like, I'm so disappointed because when my sister was here, I said, I've got to get you two to meet because you're like my Portuguese big sister. Yes. So you've got to meet my other sister, your family, you know. Yes. And I would never have met her because she wouldn't have had a listing on a website or a classified. I never would have met someone like that. And so she's my absolute rock here. And she's such a good friend. So, so that was, it
was a life-changing moment then.
It was.
So I mean, I think we all have people that like come into our lives, you know, like if we're open to it, there'll be like a turning point and we might notice it, and you know, there'll be just somebody in the right place at the right time. But I think you probably put yourself into the right space for that to happen because you like left everything open to you. I mean, you should take some credit for that. But, you know, having the presence of mind to be so open. And so how do you see your life developing? I mean, are you here house sitting and building your channel and moving around and experiencing Portugal? Like, what's your dream?
I tell you what, I can't. Who knows? So, as I said when I mentioned the house sitting when I first started and found, you know, met a lot of people that full-time house sitters, full-time digital nomads, full-time travellers. I was like, I could never do that. I like my home. I like my stuff. I like my space. I like things being where they're supposed to be. Oh, I could never do that. Look at this. So what I've been trying to explain to people, and I'm not articulating it very well, but I have found some very good sort of TED Talks and YouTube videos where people have explained this. So I'm going to actually do a video and clip some of how their articulate way of explaining it. But what I say to people is, so I came here thinking, I'll just get because I sold a house back in the UK, and I'll get a nice little detached house on the edge of town with just a big enough, not land, but, large garden, what you might call land in the UK, but a very large garden, enough to grow my own food, get chickens. And I just couldn't think of anything worse now. And so what I've been trying to explain to people is what you think you want and what you think may not necessarily be what you want, because what you've been bombarded with throughout your whole life, how your parents have treated you, how schools have treated you, how you're treated as a woman, how you're treated as an older woman, how you're treated as, as a black woman, and you have all these opinions, expectations, and so because I've just been me, I've got no children to worry about, no, elderly parents to worry about, no one except for me. I'm just flittering around Portugal. I spend a lot of time on my own or just with animals. And so I've suddenly realised, God, I was going to swear then.
It's okay.
But I was going to say, I never bloody wanted that anyway. I never wanted to wear them bloody clothes. I never wanted my bloody hair like that. I never wanted to do those things. I never wanted to live in a house like that. There is so much that I think I never freaking wanted any of that anyway. Yeah. So I feel like you're peeling off these layers of an onion, and it sounds really cliche, really, but you actually start finding the real you when you didn't even know the real you was lost. Yeah. I mean, you get the what's that film? Eat, Pray, Love people. Go away to Bali to find the real them. Well, I wasn't even looking for the real me because I didn't even know the real me was lost. Yes. So. And it's just about even little things, like people keep saying to me things like, oh, what you should do, Louise, is you need a base, you need a little bolt hole, you need to get yourself a nice little village, a little house in a village, and then you got a base and you can go up house sitting. And I think, oh, sorry, I just keep feeling like swearing. I think, bugger off. No, I couldn't think of anything else. For one, I'm 6'1", so I'd hardly fit in a tiny little Portuguese house in a village anyway.
You know what? At 5
foot, not me.
At 5'6", I don't really properly fit on their beds or on their sofas. Yeah. I mean, I'm not tall, am I? I mean, I'm like mid-height.
Yeah.
Their sofas aren't big enough for British people. Yeah. Like everything needs to be a bit bigger. Sorry, I interrupted your flow.
Yeah, no, that's all right. No,
you're gorgeous, 6'1", and
it's just like people they're doing it again, saying about what they think I should do and what they think would suit me. And I think, you don't even know me. I know I do these YouTube videos, but I'm only doing a tiny little fraction of, filming compared to each week and each month and each hour that goes by. I just do it, at the very most, a half an hour video once a week. That's not, so yeah. Again, people are telling me what they think I should do, what they think would suit me. And you just think, bugger off. I mean, they're obviously saying they're not being pushing. They're saying it with like good intent, but it's just, again, it's everybody's stuff coming at you, and it's like, yeah.
I think that's such a good thing that you've raised, because I get that with our decision to kind of not school our children in the traditional way. And people make the assumption that we're doing it because we're in Portugal, and they say, oh, go on, just send them to normal school and they'll learn Portuguese straight away, because they assume that that's the reason. When in actual fact, we would be doing the same if we're in England, if we're in Germany, if we're in Italy, wherever we go, because of our decisions, and they're our decisions and nobody else's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who decides? Who decides we're all to live like this? Who decides a man and a woman should get married and be together for the rest of their life, and children born out of wedlock? I mean, not now, but who decides all these things about how things should be and how we should live and how we should eat, what we should eat and what we should wear, and how it's
so is it safe to say that moving over and having this time to yourself has given you the space to kind of like rethink your life and actually like really have I mean, obviously when you came over, I think when I first met you, I was really what sort of impressed upon me was the fact that you and I had fairly similar views about quite a few things and are quite interested in researching the truth about like the world from our own perspective, doing it ourselves rather than being told what it is. But do you think like this experience has given you the chance to open up even more and question?
Yeah, I mean,
thoroughly?
Yeah, and it's hard because I don't know whether that's moving to Portugal or whether that's the time that I've moved. What's going on in the world that I've moved to Portugal in. So it's hard to know what's influencing my thoughts, because I changed location and I'm changing at the same time as the entire world is changing and things are becoming apparent. And but in a way, some people are quite frightened and what's the word, like it's creating a lot of upheaval in them. But for me, it's a relief because I've always I went to work once and just said to my colleague, do you not just feel sometimes like you're living in a parallel universe? and he said to me, oh, you sound like Theo in The Matrix. What? And he said, have you ever watched The Matrix? And I said, no. And then when I watched it, I thought, oh my God, yeah, that we are. And then it's come quite apparent in the last few years that we really are. What you feel is, because you can't articulate it, you don't know what's going on because you just feel something is not just as it seems. So for me, it's just like, oh, that's why I felt like that all this time. It I wasn't going crazy. So yeah, this is going a bit off topic now. No,
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Because when you were talking about all these lovely people who give you all this lovely advice, and I've experienced it too. And I've noticed that when people feel slightly threatened because you're living your life slightly differently, they turn into Agent Smith from The Matrix. You know how like all these normal people, all of a sudden Agent Smith like morphs on their face.
Yeah.
I actually think Agent Smith is kind of programmed in all of us, that when we feel triggered, we go to that place of normality and almost look at the other people who are doing something different and we're like, and wanting to like eliminate them. It's funny. These are funny and very trippy times. I like what you said, that we don't actually know what's going on because you're right. I mean, the more I learn about what's going on, the less I actually know anything. The more I think, well, that's just another opinion. I read up about, okay, so that's just another study.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And for me, the last few years have been about being okay with not having all the answers.
Yeah, exactly. And and I even say that to people that it is not for whatever that is, because people just want to control everything and we can't. We're not in control of everything. Because I get a lot of people contacting me about moving to Portugal as maybe an older person, someone over 50 that isn't in hasn't got a partner with them, and there's all this fear, and they want to, and you can hear it's like, but they want to have all their ducks lined up in a row, know exactly where they're coming. You don't know. You can't just get on a plane and come. I mean, maybe not quite as flippantly as I did it, but you still can't. You just can't orchestrate and plan and have everything as you think you want it. You got to let go a little bit more. So yeah, just generally I just think, I don't know, people just want to know exactly what is, and be in control of everything. And I just see life as a game now. I just think it's just like being in a video game. And one day you might just get a great big game over, and when it is, it is. You can't. Just got to accept that it's all going to be game over at some point.
It's funny because I think of it as like a snakes and ladders kind of thing.
Exactly.
There are these moments where you suddenly go up, and it's like, that's a nice trajectory. Well, that worked. And then all of a sudden, the washing machine breaks, 2 chickens get murdered, and you're like,
yes, I've used exactly the same. I've used exactly the same analogy, and actually thought, when things are going really bad, just thought of a snakes and ladders ball, because I used to play that game a lot as a kid, and thought, don't you just gone down a big snake, but you're still making your way towards that end goal, whatever that is, and sometimes people are in front of you because they've gone up loads of ladders, and sometimes they're behind you because they've gone down, and I literally use the same analogy.
So I'm guessing you've seen quite a few expats then, because you've been house sitting for what, 2 years now, or pretty much ever since?
A year and a half.
So you've seen lots of expats. Have you seen lots of people going back home, like repatriating?
I have. Funny enough, I have. I know of people like, a friend of a friend, and I have some people that I've met personally, and also some people very close. It's really funny because there was a couple I house sat for in the Algarve, actually, but sort of interior. And when they were going away, and then when I got back, their house was going on the market, and they just at one point they said, their house was going on the market and they was moving somewhere different, but they were at one point just going to go back to England, and they just said, all we want is central heating and carpet. and they was in the Algarve, but they said it was freezing in the winter and hellishly hot in the summer. They just and again, it's just about how the house was designed, and you could see the problem with the house. It was a lovely villa, it looked beautiful, but facing the wrong way, designed wrong, I have, or some people that are just really miserable, and you kind of think, why are you here? But they've kind of, I don't know, burnt their bridges, or they can't go, or they'll probably be just as miserable back in the UK. I don't know, some people are miserable wherever they are, but I've seen all sorts.
I mean, Carl and I, we were like musing about the whole sort of like GMP thing, like Good Morning Portugal. And, where we are right now is just like, really, it should just be good morning, or good morning, something like that's not necessarily about Portugal, because, really, like, we realised that now we probably could have just stayed in the UK, or like we're here now and we're enjoying our lives. Like, wherever we go, it's our responsibility to enjoy our life. And we probably could have made our life work in the UK if we'd chosen to. It's just, we wanted to explore, like you, we wanted to have an adventure, and we wanted to both be able to work part-time and not have to work full-time, because we've got small children. And, it's Carl's second time round as a dad, and my first time. We wanted more time with our children as older parents. And we could only do it really by working part. That's how we saw it. It was a kind of like a financial choice for us. It offered us a slightly cheaper lifestyle to give us more time. And also we were thinking, like you were talking about, the old homestead idea of having chickens and growing veg and stuff. Now we're thinking, is that actually really what we want? Because we also want to go touring around Portugal. And you can't do that if you're growing vegetables. Right? I mean, let your vegetables die a bit, but the chickens become a bit of a problem, don't they?
Yeah,
I totally understand that.
Yeah. And also there's the thing that, like, I've just been to the market this morning. Everybody else is growing vegetables. So really it's not like, really good ones. So that you can get those homegrown vegetables if you're not growing them yourself. Unlike in the UK, you'd find, it'd only be expensive farmers market. So whereas here, I mean, even everywhere I go as well, like whenever I've stayed in an Airbnb, it's always been obviously Portuguese people. And it doesn't matter. So this one's on a quinta. It doesn't matter whether it's in the city or out of the city. I'll be given eggs, homegrown stuff.
Honey.
It's so lovely. Honey, olive oil. Even when I was in an apartment in a city, it was a young woman, and she said she left eggs, olive oil. She said it's from her parents' farm. So everybody, you can get hold of it. You don't necessarily have to grow your own. So
it's quite magical, isn't it? I mean, I'm really grateful that we've had this chance to come over and have chickens, and we couldn't have done that where we were living in the UK. But you're right, like this is the only country we found so far where you can go out and leave your door unlocked and come back and find a bag of oranges or kiwis on your doorstep. Another fruit that I've never even come across. It's awesome.
It's so lovely. Yeah.
So what would you say to people that are thinking about making the move? Like, what would you put down? Like, if you were to say these characteristics or these personality traits help you when you're moving, and these ones make it really hard. Like, what would you say is one of your sort of emotional or sort of like psychological habits that's helped you?
I don't know, but I can definitely tell you what I've noticed in the people that are unhappy and the people that have gone back. It's so some people it's purely a financial decision. And that's it. It is purely a financial decision. And you can have a big culture shock. There's a lot that's very different. And what I found, it's the people that just pick up from where they were. They're shipping container loads of their stuff over, and they just want to pick up that life and put it in Portugal. And that doesn't work. You can't just pick up that life, plonk it in Portugal and want everything to be the same, but just cheaper because you haven't got to pay healthcare. And that's what I've noticed. The most unhappy people are just trying to replicate the life they came from. So I would say, look at your reasons for coming, and no, you can't just replicate what you had. I think that's the biggest thing. The other thing is there's a couple that have a YouTube channel that are here 18 months, and they actually just did a video about they've gone to Beijing now. Portugal's not for them. And I put a comment under their video, and they commented under mine and said, we really got just swept up in the because Portugal's quite heavily marketed.
I think
to the Americans a lot as well. I mean, even in the tourist office, she was just talking about, even from a tourist point of view, how heavily it's marketed to the Americans, and very different to how they market to the Europeans. And they was obviously back in the States, and they said they just got swept up in the marketing and all the YouTube channels, and the dream of Portugal. And I say that also to people that are watching my vlogs, because obviously I vlog about Portugal and other people's, and just say to them, for one, I have to keep saying to people on my Instagram and stuff, I'm only showing you the highlights. I'm not going to be one of it. I don't come on and moan about things. I'm not going to do that. I don't. When I see a beautiful scene, when I'm up a mountain or I'm on the beautiful Atlantic coastline, I just think, oh my God, I've got to take a photo, or I've got to take a video. I don't automatically think that when things are going wrong. I don't think, oh, let me take a video of this disastrous day and tell everybody how awful it is. That doesn't come
some YouTubers do, don't they?
There's lots they do actually. Yeah, that's obviously how your mind, the different minds. But so I just say to people, remember, I'm showing you the highlights, and if you took the highlights of your life as it is now, you could make your life look fantastic as well. If you just pick the highlights and put them all on an Instagram page. So to don't get swept up in what we're putting out there. I definitely, and some people, it's not that they're lying, but some people it's as if, oh my God, they've got a unicorn in the garden that farts candy floss, because what you're describing, what they describe in reality is like, oh, they went along, they got their Ceph appointment within 2 weeks and it was all wonderful, and they bought a house and everything was wonderful, and the lawyer spoke perfect English, and just everything is bloody wonderful, and it's like, no, that's not the reality. That is not the reality. So
I love that. I mean, it's funny because like Cole, I mean, expats everywhere. Cole did a lovely interview with them, or show with them about Portugal, and then I listened to it and I said, oh my God, you didn't talk about the calçadas that people trip over. And so I actually messaged them separately and said, hey guys, do you want to hear my side of it? All the things you forgot. And it's crazy. Like, I work online. I'm really, really busy doing my work. Nobody sees it, but everybody that knows me because of this one video about me moaning about Portugal. But it's so important. I love the fact that you're telling the truth about it, as well as, like being realistic. That's one of the things that, like Carl is starting to say that more now as well, because he realizes that people are just taking him at his, at what he's saying. And Carl is a really optimistic person. So everything looks great to him. Even in a trauma, he's still like really quite optimistic. And if people don't realize that, they're just going to think like, yeah, we have unicorns farting candy floss as well.
And as well, when you when you do mention it, you're not having a moan, you're not saying you want it changed, you're not saying you wish things were different, you're not saying you're fed up with it, and it just is what it is. And if people know, then they can prepare. And like you were saying earlier when you was asking me about, well, what is it that would make a smooth move, or for people, it is just knowing. Like, for example, I have got quite a few people ask me about finding work in Portugal, and I say I haven't got a clue because I've never looked for work and I don't work for anybody in Portugal. But I just did a chat with someone for my channel for a video who has also found work in other countries. So he's really experienced of finding work abroad and living abroad when you need a job. And so it's really great. So I said, oh, you can, people can hear it from you, because I don't know. But one of the things, and I said, because the way I answer that question and the way I've seen it answered on forums and stuff is people say, no, it's impossible. The wages are low. If you can't speak the language, you haven't got a chance. And I said, but for some people, they have to. It's the only way they can move to Portugal. And there's a big difference between it being really difficult and it being impossible. And I said, well, I've been given that answer. This is what I've heard. It's really not an option. You've got to either have income coming in from online work or remote work, or an income like a pension or rent, something coming from another country. And I thought, no, that's really wrong of me to say that, because it's not easy, but it's not impossible either.
Not impossible.
So, exactly. So it's a big difference.
I can. Exactly. I'm glad you raised that, actually, because we had obviously like our boys are Scorpios, and we had a joint birthday party for them yesterday. And when I think about the group of people we had at our house, some of them, like, who speak no Portuguese, have been working in Portugal, actually for Portuguese people. Then we have people with trades that have come over and have found collaborations with other Portuguese and international mixed groups. There are online workers. There's a lady up the road that I met for the first time really yesterday, who is she works in a call center from the UK. She's from the Philippines. So there's like all sorts of different things going on. And then I met people who, if they can't find work locally, that they teach English as a foreign language, via China. I mean, things are really, really opening up. But I am aware of lots of people who work in the Portuguese economy for Portuguese people, also people cleaning, all sorts. There's loads.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go and find it, don't you?
Exactly. And you've got to have the grit and the determination to know that it's not going to be as easy as back in your home country, but it's certainly not impossible.
Yeah. That's a really good point of conversation, actually, Louise. Because I mean, the other thing I found, like we've met quite a few Americans that have moved over here, and who actually do have quite a bit of money to live on, and they're sort of pensioned up and whatnot. But their desire to be of service is leading them back into work. So people who just like to keep busy, and then they sort of go about their day, and they think, oh, that's an issue. Oh, I wonder what I can do about that. And so like people that naturally get involved, they tend to find themselves employed again, whether they like it or not.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Another angle.
Wow. All right. Well, I feel like I've had not enough of your time. I could carry on chatting with you for ages, and it's a real treat. So I'm really chuffed. If people wanted, I mean, I'm sure most people who are listening to this are already subscribed to your channel.
Oh, I doubt it. Yeah.
No, I think there will be. Yeah. If somebody wanted to check out your channel, how can they find you?
It's just you can just at 50 solo 50 plus.
At
solo 50 plus. That's the new YouTube. I've got new handles now, so you can
cool, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think the actual channel's called Solo 50 Plus Adventures. Changed the name.
Have you?
Yeah, Solo 50 Plus. I always wanted to. The name was just all keywords to get the channel up and running.
Good for you.
So it's just, you can just, yes, the channel name is Solo 50 Plus Adventures, or the @ thing in YouTube is just @ Solo 50 Plus.
Wow. Excellent.
And then from there, from there, you can find my Instagram and email. And I am not on Facebook. Some people say, oh, I can't find you on Facebook. And I say, yeah, that's because I'm not on it. As if
that's the whole point. It's so funny. Yeah. Since I've been joining Carl on this show, I've got all these friend requests coming in left, right, and centre, and I'm like, who the hell is that? Oh my god!
Exactly. It's really weird. I'm sorry. It's like different you don't get a message. It's different if people sort of sent a friend request, said, oh, I've seen you on, I was watching you on YouTube. I'd like, so I'm sending this friend request. I'd like to, add you as a friend. But just, it's weird to me. It's weird.
Oh, weird times, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. You and I have built lives in a new country, haven't we? We're on a computer. Is there one last thought that you'd like to leave us with today? If there's just one thing that's just occurred to you recently, you thought, I must share this. Have you got anything? Any words of wisdom or?
Only just. Well, I tell you what. Somebody sent me. I can't remember. Said something, and I said, I can't remember why, but I just thought. It was a question, and I just said, as long as it's your dream, because she was asking something to do with someone else moving to Portugal, and I said, well, as long as what you're asking, as long as it's your dream and it's what you want, then yeah, it's fine. But if you're looking at, because the question was under, if you're looking at her and her life and you're asking that question, then you could have trouble, because you're just it's going back to looking at other people, looking at the highlights, and also going back to what I said about finding the real you. Just think about if it's really what you want and what's not expected of you, or what you think you want. Whether that's moving to Portugal, where you move to Portugal, how you live in Portugal, and just, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is, you know, like when couples move over or families, there's always like one or two drivers of that change, and then a few like reluctant followers. It's not always for everyone. I mean, it's a huge.
No, exactly.
When I think about the other countries I've lived in, they've always been my choice. I've gone on my own.
Yeah.
And I found it very, very easy to integrate when I go on my own, because I don't have to worry about like kids and what they're up to. You know, I just go and sort of like meet people, go and sit in a cafe, kind of do what I want. When you're going with other people, it's almost like, oh, you have to worry about what they're up to as well.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. So I think if I could say it properly in a sentence, don't let other people's opinion and other people's expectations affect what you do.
Yeah.
And also just relax a little bit and leave yourself open to whatever will be, rather than just trying to organise and orchestrate everything. Just maybe leave yourself open to whatever God, the universe, whatever suggests to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Love that. Great ending. Well, thank you so much for your time today, my love.
Oh, thank you. I've really enjoyed chatting.
Yeah, I have as well, actually. I can't wait till our paths cross again. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you'd like to start your own conversation and explore your moving story, why not book a coaching session with Carla or I? Just go to theportugalclub.com to book your session or become part of our Good Morning Portugal community at goodmorningportugal.com, where we do the show Monday to Friday. It's a really light-hearted look at life as an immigrant, and also a quick little peek at life in Portugal. Outside of the rough and tumble of the GMP show, I should also let you know we are both trained coaches. My specialty is in managing and preparing for change. Really, what we're doing is offering you a safe space, so you just get to hear yourself speak it, say it out loud. I want to move to another country. So if this is you, get in touch and speak to you real soon. Anyway, thank you so much for connecting to us today. Hope to connect again real soon in the next moving story, and also the episodes about the secrets of migration. Lots and lots of love to you from Portugal. Mwah.